In this video, I'm talking to those of you out there who live in a French-speaking country, like la France, la Suisse, la Belgique, le Luxembourg, ou peut-être le Québec au Canada, and are learning French but who aren't able to speak to the level you want and generally feel like your French isn't good enough most of the time. I want to talk about something that happens all too often without us really noticing. And I say us because I myself fit into this category as someone who lives in a French-speaking country and learned the language as an adult, and I've had to overcome many barriers in order to become the fluent speaker that I am today. Full disclosure, I am going to talk to you about my paid group coaching program, but that will be more towards the end. Alors, going in, a lot of us know that learning French will be a challenge and that it will take work. Yet what happens is often at the end of the beginner stage, the things that got us to that point don't really work as well or don't work at all at the intermediate stage. And when you're a French learner living in a French-speaking country, it's at that intermediate stage where you kind of want to get to in order to be able to start having the conversations for your daily life so you can integrate more and just feel more real, right? More like you fit. This becomes particularly evident when we want to have conversations with natives in relatively normal interactions for life in France or wherever it may be. It's hard to take when these don't go smoothly, right? It's hard for our ego. If we're really honest, it's hurting our ego, but we tend to push on with the same solutions because that's what we know will work to make our French better, right? We take some more language classes, we get on more of the apps, we get into the books again, or we sort of just hit and hope with the spontaneous random interactions which might come into our life during any given day. Progress can be really slow and we get frustrated and stressed and talk ourselves down. We don't know why things aren't working despite the work we're putting in, but we often fall into the trap of saying, you know, I'm not good at languages, or I'm too old for this, or whatever it might be. Now, if this sounds familiar, you probably think you have enough French grammar and vocab to be having those conversations, even if they are just simple and you're not putting too many expectations on the quality of the conversation. And yet it still feels stunted and not fluid at all. And this is just really frustrating. The thing is, what isn't talked about enough by my peers in the language learning community is that just living in a French-speaking country often isn't enough to make you get better at French, at least not in a tangible way. Something along the lines of, when I'm immersed, my French will really improve, is thrown around a lot without a second thought. And I'm not saying this is coming from the language learning community, but yet this is something we carry around with us as an expat moving to a French-speaking country for whom the language necessarily isn't the number one priority. We know we have to do it, but we just figure, yes, it's difficult, but once I'm in the country, things will be easier. Now, it is true that when you're in a French-speaking country, it's easier to become immersed and have French around you and opportunities to practice. However, it's certainly not true that it just happens for everyone. It's rather your attitude, your approach, your willingness, and a bit of luck which decides how immersed you can get and how immersed you stay. You can be immersed to varying different degrees, whether you're in France or not. If you spend most of your day speaking English, but your body is in France, I would say that you're more immersed in English than you are in French. Maybe you do that because it's what's more comfortable. That's the language you speak with your partner. That's the language you speak with your colleagues because you are hired by an international company where the language is English. And not to mention the fact that COVID has really limited opportunities to go out and meet people. But before you know it, months and years maybe have gone by and your French has barely improved. Now, I've had many coaching clients out there whose situation is one of those I've just mentioned. And it's sad to see because with a little help and a little direction, you can really put yourself on a path to improving French whenever you put your mind to it every single day, rather than sort of scratching around looking for the perfect app, the perfect teacher, the perfect book to get your French to that next level. It's more about attitude and your approach. If you're resonating with this, then I would say that what you need most is a change of lifestyle, a change of balance in your lifestyle, even a small one. And this will put you on to a path which will bring you results for your French and for your confidence in French on any given day when you put your mind to it. Once you start having regular interactions in French and you embrace the fact that it's not going to be perfect, your confidence increases because your competence increases. And so the world opens up to you and you can feel more connected to your francophone community that you have joined, because most of us don't want to come to France and just think, I'm going to stay in my English bubble, but it just happens. So yeah, that's what many of us want. We want to come to France to realize a dream or to make this move that we didn't actually expect, but it's happened, and we would like to feel comfortable and independent and as free as we do in our home country. But the language isn't something we necessarily really gave a second thought to when we're in an English-speaking country. Suddenly we're in the French-speaking country, and it can make even the more simple discussions, i.e. going to the shop, going to the post office, induce stress even on a micro scale, and this can accumulate and make you feel really uncomfortable where you actually live, which isn't cool at all, right? So what typically happens, of course, because these things aren't something we enjoy doing, aren't some things we look forward to doing, we end up retreating back into what's comfortable, which often for expats is having those English-speaking friends and family around us. Even if they're French speakers, we have them speak to us in French. And because anything that is in French is met with resistance. Now, a word on traditional French classes, I think that they have their place. And I think they're great, actually, going from zero to that start of that intermediate stage. So they definitely have their place. But if you're resonating with what I'm saying and have felt anything that I'm talking about and what I'm describing, then I can tell you that simply learning more language, trying to put more in your head from the safety of a classroom isn't what you need now in order to take your French and your French confidence to the next level. What you need is coaching. So coaching is different from teaching in that it addresses all aspects of what makes you successful at French, or what will make you successful at French. It takes a holistic approach. It looks at the learner, the person as a whole. It looks at how your thoughts about yourself and French block you from progressing. It focuses on what priority you give French in your day-to-day in terms of your thoughts and actions in order to make more of the opportunities that you have in your current schedule without necessarily even adding more to it. Opportunities for practice and further learning. It looks at your habits and how to optimize them to get more out of French. And it looks at, of course, the areas of language that you should be focusing on right now and the ones which you shouldn't really give too much of your energy to right now. So with all that said, I'd like to take the opportunity to tell you about my group coaching program, whose aim is to address everything I just mentioned and make you a more confident, competent French speaker who knows at any given moment what it is you need to be doing in order to take your French forward. It's not about cutting out English, but it is about giving French a chance to be more of a VIP spot in your life and in your mind. The techniques will work for you in direct proportion with how much you trust them and apply them into your day-to-day life. It's not about wait until coming to your French class in order to turn on French mode. It's I want you to become someone who involves French in your day-to-day life and really embraces the challenge of it. And I should know that all of these things that I will be teaching you work because I apply them myself in my own life, even today, several years after coming to France. So you can take a look at more information on the program via a link down in the description, but just briefly, let me tell you about what each week involves. So each week you watch one or more video lessons that are on a specific theme for that week and complete their exercises, which are either worksheets or speaking tasks to apply during our speaking practice or during your real world life in your francophone country. And in the middle of the week, we meet as a group twice, so on 2 separate occasions, for 1 hour at a time. Once for group coaching and once for French speaking practice. And starting from week 2, one part of the program which I'm really excited about is that you will have 2 conversation classes with your very own one-on-one native tutor. So that's twice a week, starting from week 2. And so in total, that's 3 hours of French speaking practice minimum per week. And obviously with your one-on-one tutor, you get to work on exactly your own personal needs regarding French. So that is really, really fantastic. And I'm really happy to be able to include that. There's an exclusive Facebook group for those of us in the course, which is really great for sharing progress, making new friends, writing in French, English, ou franglais, and asking all your questions. I add videos throughout the program according to the needs of the group, according to questions that come up in our meetings and in the group. So really, the more you make use of that community aspect, the more you get out of the program. I've spent a few thousand euros on my development in my business the last couple of years alone. And one of the biggest things I got out of that investment was the fact that there was community behind it. People were there to support me, answer my questions, and give me their answers based on their own experience on a similar path to me. So that's why I really approve of this method of teaching. And to cap it all off, you get lifetime access to all the material in the course. In terms of investment, it starts at €649, which across the 8 weeks is €81, which in my opinion is fantastic value for all that you get, including the 3 hours of face-to-face time, which is often where you're going to see the biggest results per week. One piece of feedback that stands out in my mind was from my previous student, Olivia, who is English, but she works on as part of a boat crew. They take out tourists out into the sea and they do cruises. And so she was there in a very small, tight-knit environment surrounded by French-speaking natives every day. And she's been in this world for about 5 years, but had fallen out of love with the language just because of how much pressure she started to put on herself to speak French, and just found that she was just so poor at French, and it was making people not want to speak to her. And so her attitude just became really negative, and she got into this cycle. You know, she felt like people didn't want to speak French with her because she was so slow and she made mistakes. But once she started applying what I was teaching her, she found that this wasn't the case at all. People saw in her body language that she relaxed and she was trying French, and they embraced her and they embraced her efforts. And it still moves me to think about it now, honestly. So my intention for you with this program is to turn you into a successful, confident and competent French speaker who is well equipped with the tools needed to continue your progress in the months and years beyond the end of the program. I have a great life here now in the south of France, and things only got better when I became more comfortable with the language, and I really want to share that with you. If you want to find out more about the program, apply to join us, or perhaps watch Olivia's full testimonial on her experience with us the last time out, then you'll find a link down below in the description and also in the first comment underneath the video. I've designed an interactive application process in which you provide answers to around 10 questions via written answers and also audio answers so that I can get a gauge on your current level of French. Applications are currently open until the 9th of February and we start on the 14th. So if you are at all interested, I urge you to act right away. I would love to have you join us. Send me a message on Instagram, leave a comment down below, or send me an email at alex@frenchinplainsight.com. If you have any questions at all, I will get right back to you. So that's all I have for you today. If you resonated with stuff that I've said, please don't stay stuck and don't blame yourself. You just need a new approach and a new perspective, and I'd love to be the one to help provide it for you now in 2021. So, thanks for watching, and I hope to see you very soon. Bon français, bonne continuation, et bonne journée. Ciao, ciao.